Hi guys, I'm KJ, and today's video is dedicated to learning to paint like Bob Ross or in the Bob Ross style. I'm going to be doing a painting called Mount McKinley. It's one of Bob Ross's tutorials, so let's get painting. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting like a really thin layer here of this titanium white. There's quite a bit of solvent on my brush, so it's coming out really thin. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that the canvas is covered now. So I'm going to take a little bit of this Prussian blue or ultramarine blue, and I'm just kind of like swishing it on my palette and even like dabbing it a little because I really don't want like a lot of paint on my, like I don't want to mix too much because it'll be bad. Okay, so we want some general basic cloud shapes, I guess. So I'm literally just gonna kind of swirl this around, because that seems like what Bob Ross is. He's just swirling it. Okay, so I'm just putting some shapes on my canvas. Bob Ross is saying that we need to like blend this. Okay, it looks like he's using this really big brush. I am not using a 24-inch canvas, but because there is a little bit of green on here, which is probably not ideal. But they do look pretty. I mean, it's looking pretty swirly and cloud-like, and I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to go in with some more blue to correct my mistake and hope that it works. So here's some more blue, and I'm just kind of going in here because I want to drown out that green a bit. And since there's white on the whole canvas, I don't really feel pressured to have blue everywhere. I kind of like this sort of like white in between the blue. I don't know if that's exactly what Bob Ross is doing, but it looks good on my canvas, so I like it. See, that's really blue. But yeah, so I have to like, a mix of blues here, and I'm just gonna kind of use this really soft light brush to just kind of drag it around, kind of see what happens and like what kind of shapes I'm getting. I really like this corner here. I feel like it looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna kind of mix in the corners that don't look as good. So I'm really digging this, but I think I want a little bit more up here. And then I'm just going to take this to drag this out a little bit and just kind of let this become whatever it wants. So your painting will probably not look exactly like Bob Ross's. I know mine's not going to. I'm new, so I'm just trying to do the best that I can with the limited knowledge that I have. And if it looks relatively good, just move on probably. Like, I don't want to make it worse. So then you might need to get some titanium white or some more of your blue color and try to like mix that a little bit. Like, this looks a little bit less blocky, a little bit more realistic. So I'm just coming back in here with some white in some of these spots. Trying to get this to look a little bit less blocky. Because I don't like that. Okay, so that looks a lot more like a sky to me, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. It doesn't look just like Bob Ross's sky, but it's good enough. So now I'm going to continue. And he's just kind of dragging that like in. And he's saying to leave some space. Making sure I get my corners here. I'm leaving some space between the sky and the water that I'm using. Let's see, we're leaving a little bit of space. And we're just kind of coming in here this way. Built a little bit of like white in that middle space, mostly because I kind of messed up and put too much paint in the middle. So if you do kind of put too much paint in the middle, you can take some more white and that kind of helps fix it. And I'm trying to get like less of the blue in the middle, and then you just kind of drag this back. Get a little bit of darker blue here and just kind of drag that. Give it a little bit more personality. Okay, so don't think I'm really going to get much better than this. Probably over blending at this point. So we'll take our fan brush and we'll make some clouds as Bob Ross says. Oh boy, okay, so we're supposed to use a tiny, tiny bit of red. We need our white. And we are going to dance in some clouds. So it seems like he's taking kind of like the end of the brush and just kind of like scraping it like that. So just take kind of like mostly the edge, and then I'm doing kind of like a circular motion. It's not really working the same way Bob's is working, but it's probably fine. So I'm just kind of letting the brush do whatever it wants a little bit. I'm going to kind of just go over it very lightly and just kind of smooth it very slightly. That's going to kind of give it an illusion of being blended in. I want one more here in this dark spot, so I'm just going to kind of take the edge of my brush and just kind of do whatever that was. And then I'm just going to kind of take this and move it across like that so that it's looking more like a sky. And so even if it doesn't look exactly like what Bob Ross's looks like, it's fine. It'll be your own version. Okay, so Bob Ross is kind of twisting it a little bit when he's making clouds. Kind of like that. He's doing a little bit of this. So you could try that. That might actually work pretty well as the edge. And clouds can be over blended easily, so I may be guilty of that. So yeah. I don't think he really mixes it to death, but you kind of get this like dark color here. And he says to roll the paint, so you have a little bit of a blob on the end. Like so. I'm kind of scared, but I'm gonna try it. Okay, alright. Oh, we're just going in, okay. He has it faced like this. So I've gone and done the wrong thing. I'm now facing the way that Bob Ross is facing. He's kind of pretty high up here. So I'm just gonna... It's a little scary to just set it on the canvas like that. Oof. That's a lot of paint. So I've got that on there, and he's kind of dragging it down a bit here. Okay, so he's gonna go bring it back up though, because McKinley has another peak. So I'm just kind of lifting up here again and going down. So I'm just kind of holding it between my middle finger and my thumb and kind of just placing my index finger just so you can kind of steady it. I don't have quite as much space in between mine as he does. I don't know if this will matter later. I just kind of brought it out a little bit. And I'm kind of pressing a little bit, and then I'm just going to kind of bring out this kind of third peak there. And run out, so I've rolled a little bit more on here. So kind of like that. It's not amazing looking, but that's not really working for me. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to bring this out a bit. Because you can kind of see Bob trying to round it out a little bit, so that's all I'm doing. It's a more gradual slope on this side. And we're going to kind of point up and then drop down. So this part here should be like maybe a little rounded. There. I'm just going to take a little bit more and just kind of go out. And his is lighter, so if you can get your color lighter than mine, that's probably ideal. But I'm just kind of flicking this a little bit. Just trying to get that slope a little bit less sharp. I do have like a divot here that he doesn't have in his painting, so there we go. And he's scraping a little bit, and I think that gives you some of those little white spots when you scrape. Gives you a little bit of that more mountainy. Some spots are kind of like white from the snow. If you have a bigger canvas, I recommend the 2-inch brush. But since I'm using this smaller canvas, and this is like an 11 by 14 or something like that. So he's just taking this brush and he's bringing it down. He's just taking this brush and he's bringing it down. This is more blended than mine, really. So really parts of this is supposed to be a little bit lighter. Like mine's probably too dark. Because he's going to be trying to blend this. This is kind of going down into the water a bit. I put a lot of paint on mine, so... But some of that blue background is showing a bit more in his painting. My paint is really taking over this blue, so I need a little bit more of the blue in the middle, so I'm actually going to just put it in there and blend that instead. I'm going to use a little bit of blue. Because he really just has such a... is so much lighter looking than mine. And I am trying to get closer to what he's got going on there, so... Although this may not have been a great idea. Because this is also looking pretty dark. I think what I need is white. So that's gonna be the next thing I'm gonna do. And the idea is to just kind of lighten up this blue so that it looks more like what Bob is doing. And you can see this is a lot lighter. Okay. And somewhere along the way, I have lost my little mountain peak here. There's 3, but we need kind of another divot over here. So I'm just going to kind of take this out a little bit, like that. And then kind of do a little swoop down, like that. And then attempt to get my brush to behave. So this kind of goes out a little bit like so. And there's a little bit of like a down in this way. So we want the peak to be a little darker. And then we just want to keep trying to bring down the color a little bit. So how it's getting a little bit lighter. We want the edges to be a little darker. But I'm really trying to bring this color down a little. I might be doing it too much actually, but this is the idea anyway. Alright, so I'm feeling like this is probably as good as I'm gonna get. Okay, so now we're supposed to have some mist. So I'm just blending this some more, kind of this way. And I'm not sure exactly how this is gonna go. This is supposed to be a kind of misty. This is gonna kind of go like that. And then we kind of have this mist going on here. And it doesn't really look too much like mist, so I'm thinking let's add some white just where the mist is supposed to be. But the idea is to get some white in there and then see if I can blend that out. And that does seem to be helping. So if you don't get it right the first time, don't worry about it too much. Don't be too hard on yourself. You can fix it. That's kind of the beauty of painting. Okay, so I feel like I've kind of gotten the mist thing going. There's still some parts that are a little too dark. Like this right here. And I'm just going to put some white over top of it and hope that that will fix it. This part's kind of tricky. And I kind of drag mine this way because I don't know how to do what Bob is doing exactly. We want that peak to only be dark on one side, to only get light on one side, and then he kind of just drags it out. I'm not sure exactly how he does that. Kind of worked for me, sort of. Okay. Kind of come down here and then kind of down and over. I just kind of drag it however I can to get it to work. So now we're going to kind of cover this edge here. I don't have as much of an edge as he does. I've kind of made one. And just kind of dragging this down like this. Yeah, so we're just taking that dark side and bringing it over to the light side. Yeah, so we're just kind of creating lines and kind of just bringing the paint kind of to the side here and just kind of mixing into so it looks a little bit smoother on this side here. Okay, so kind of just blending it back and forth. the lines are a bit less neat than I need. So, I mean, I think if you need to blend, this 1-inch brush is pretty great. So I got my clean brush here. I'm gonna build in a peak along this line here. So I'm just gonna kind of take my line here. And just kind of try to build a peak in here. My colors are getting a little muddy. Get a little bit more white down here. So I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. Over it a little bit. And so I'm just gonna try to create a line there. And I'm gonna immediately blend it. Okay, and I think that gives it a little bit more personality. It's gonna bring a little bit more white down, just to kind of make that look a little more natural. So the next thing that we need to do is just kind of diffuse this a little bit. So just kind of build this up a little bit, bring this down. The white's really gonna look like mist. And then I'm just gonna kind of swipe across. And this is kind of gonna create that illusion of mist a little bit, so he's kind of just like tapping it. Okay, so next we're gonna create some smaller mountains. Okay, so I made a color that's kind of a little bit lighter than what I was using before, but it's more of like a medium-ish gray. And I'm just gonna make these smaller mountains. And then he's pretty much just brushing these out. So for that tiny little one, I'm kind of trying to do the whole thing. So it's just kind of in the background there. Okay, so now we're gonna make some tiny trees in the background. So I'm just kind of tapping with the edge of my brush. And if I want bigger trees, I use the whole brush and then kind of flip up a little bit. And I'm just making the closest ones a little bit more prominent. And then you just gotta take it across. Maybe more gently than what I did. Make some bushes. My tree's not really looking like anything, so I think I'm gonna try the fan brush. I'm really just getting just the edge. So now I need to make a water line. So this tree needs to be a little bigger. I'm gonna try to draw a bigger tree right here.
Any attention, just get your shoe tied. Same thing.
So I'm just trying to push the paint into the canvas and bring this down. Bring it down a little bit like that. And I'll try to take this thinner paint and put it on top of the thicker paint.
just trying to make a hill kind of with this fan brush.
And now I'm just highlighting these trees as well. And I'm pressing pretty firmly and trying to pop things in here. Just sort of popping a bush in here and there. Well, this is the final result. Hope you enjoyed watching this video today. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.